Yes, I am. Just let me see that I am trying to come in. Yes, good morning, India, and good afternoon, someplace, and good evening in California, and then sleepy time in the East Coast, but not for me. So, so welcome you all. My name is Ramana Annamaraju. I'm the Medbix webcast host. No, I'm not Albert Einstein, but I'm pretty good. so, so, so anyway, the model is that the show is a very different kind of a different kind of healthcare media channel. I introduce different people from all walks of healthcare life to my show, physicians or hospital executives, and then the entrepreneurs and technology guys, and then all of them I introduce them, and then for 15 minutes I talk with them, 15-20 minutes. Then I introduce a concept. Today's concept is I do a presentation. Today's presentation is the the immortal woman of John Hopkins. Wait until you see who is she. So probably some of you all may know, but it's very interesting background. I give a different twist to the story. I more of a clinical side. I do not that history side a whole lot. I just talk about what is the clinical significance of that. And I'm not a physician, but I do. I came from physics background. I have a master's in physics. I have a master. I did a nuclear engineering. I did a computer science. So I did quite a bit of studies. But more important is I spent 30 years in healthcare. I understood from a basic selling EKGs to all the way to PET CT scans. I understood the entire spectrum involved in IPAs and the HMOs. So name it. So I saw everything in healthcare. You can see and unseen things. So welcome you all. I so actually the present today's guest is a very relevant topic because mental health is a big crisis. It's a catastrophic thing, and we are on the edge of a catastrophe, in my view. The kids are killing kids. There's a lot of violence in the airports and the in the airlines, and you see a lot of people are antsy and they're very they're showing a lot of frustrations. How do you solve this problem? So we don't have any nobody is giving a from the above, from the central or any other policies. There is no general policy that how to solve this problem, massive problem. Everybody is talking about it, but there are no solutions to it. So the today's guest, that she's trying to do solve some problem, those kind of problems. Her name is Catedra Phillips. Let me introduce you. Let me bring her to the scene. Catedra, let me 1 second. I'm going to bring a Catedra to the Catedra. Welcome to Bed Big Subcast.
Thank you for having me, Romana.
Yeah, thank you. So give me some, your journey into this. Before I get into the your neuroscience journey, the entrepreneurship in science or mental health. What is a Where were you born? Are you from Atlanta? Where are you from? And what is your background a little bit?
Yes, I am born and raised. I'm an Atlanta native, and I'm still here in the city of Atlanta. I grew up as one of three children. I was born to two deaf. So I have been rewarded the life to live of serving support to those who have been disadvantaged in some capacity beyond their own fault. So it's been a journey just providing service for, and it's actually a reward to me. So yeah, I enjoy
Both,
those efforts and
you know,
assisting.
yeah. Let me. I will come next to you. That I can see. No, that is. 1 second. Yeah. So I don't know why he just came in there. Yeah. Just let me. Okay. Good. So
Okay.
Kadadra. So you grew up with the deaf parents. Both of them are. How do you communicate with them? And do you learn the language, silent language, or the deaf language that they speak with the brailles and all those things? You know how to do that?
Yes.
Not braille. Sorry. But is a blind. But sorry. Yeah. Okay. Tell me the
No.
challenges you
Yes.
face
So I.
communicating with your parents.
Yes. Yes, I communicate with my parents using American Sign. As I mentioned, I was the youngest of three kids, so I think by the time it got to me, it was a little bit easier to educate me on the ability to communicate effectively with my parents.
Very good. So, so that gives you a lot of patience and a lot of understanding and a lot of patience. Particularly, that's very important. I wanted to ask you a question: is that you grew up in Atlanta? You're a part of Atlanta city. So, how did you end up in your this venture? What were you doing before? You were doing a youth development, something like that, right? Can you explain what were you doing the youth development side?
Absolutely. So I began back in 2004. So early on discovered some of the challenges self-defeating behavior in people. And so that led me to begin for youth. And the journey continues. I am still actively doing youth development work with an organization called A-Reach. And it's just always been an innovative program where we learn how to advance and be more effective in our efforts in assisting young people in their development.
Very good. So, how did you end up? What took you to this neuroscience venture into neuroscience, and how did you get into this? Yeah, explain to me what are you doing in NeuroCafe? How did you enter into this? You're a sponsor for the today's show. That's called a neurocafe.com, theneurocafe.com. How did you get into that business, and what inspired you to be in that business?
So, as I mentioned, it's been a journey of innovations. We've always wanted to be more effective. So we discovered that mental health is or the fundamental source of anyone's existence. So we wanted to take an approach that will really help gain the tools to be able to overcome uh, life challenges and things of that nature. So I discovered through a good friend and mentor emulating technologies and how those training the mental state and manipulating brainwave activity could really help accelerate the and better mental health. And I began practicing meditation myself. However, I'm aware that the traditional meditation can be quite challenging. So I was excited to discover about the effectiveness of these technologies. And so we incorporated these technologies to provide a relaxation service, but not only just relaxation, but also a training of individuals identify how to build regulatory skills.
What do you think of the role of technology in the brain training program? Why there is a why I can sit down at home and meditate? Why do I need a technology? Is another pressure to me. Why do you think that is needed in the mental relaxation side?
Oh, I feel that the technology tools are a huge assistance to advance the service. We use virtual reality. The goggles that you wear during that experience automatically shuts out any distractions, and to really immerse in what is in front of them and to really tune into some self-awareness experience there. And with the neurofeedback exercise, it's active feedback. So more aware, and you're building confidence and building memory muscle, having the experience, which is a progressive tool to help to ensure that they all can develop and deepen their attempts in meditation.
Cathedra, there are two worlds. One world is that is people who are in the economically struggling and all those. One world there. Other world is Ivy Towers and Buckhead kind of people that you're in a rich neighborhoods and all those things. These two worlds. You were juggling between these two worlds. What is, first of all? Let me talk with you about the what are the challenges in the disadvantaged youth particularly face. They think that we can isolate ourselves from the society, rest of the society. We cannot. We've seen that with the pandemic. We can see that with the is going to be very well get experienced with the mental health if we don't take care of it. So what do you think of the mental health challenges in the disadvantaged youth and particularly economically backward areas, economically
There
challenged
are
areas?
quite a number of disadvantages there. We have the technology despair, where these technology tools are not granted income or disadvantaged youth, as well as just a stigma that's associated with mental health as a whole, that makes it less captivating for individuals to get involved as accessibility. Because we know things that we're challenged with is being able to provide equal amount of tools and practice in those communities, low income and in the communities, as you mentioned, like Buckhead, where they're well funded.
So are you getting some kind of a support system for the particularly dealing with the disadvantaged youth? What because what if we don't take care of them? What are the results could happen? What are the negative things could happen if we don't address that problem, mental health problem in the disadvantaged youth, particularly economically challenged areas, and also people with the juvenile records and all those things? What are the things if we don't address that problem? What could happen? You think?
Well, we know that youth are our future, and as we continue to neglect things, the problem grows, right? So as we see certain things during the pandemic. At one point, mental health was a crisis for some. Since the pandemic, it became a crisis for all. Every challenges, and it's particularly in the Buckhead community, we started to see some of those disadvantaged into the communities where they felt that they could benefit, but they were creating problematic situation. So if we don't address grow and become a problem for everyone. So we have to go ahead. We have to take charge and be able to provide solutions to the issues, or it will continue to.
To Before I get into the corporate side, are you getting any help from the sponsors like big companies, Fortune 500 companies, that they're trying to understand your situation, they're trying to help you, or you're trying to reach them still? Is a process you're going through?
Always a process. We are always working to grow the impacts, working to bring on new partners that can help us grow and continue to sustain programs those disadvantaged youth. But we do have support. We have corporate companies such as Walmart, Target, Office Depot, Georgia. Excuse me. We do have some involvement, but we're always seeking more to grow the huge. This is a huge challenge, a huge to tackle.
I wanted to. So the second part is how, that the corporate side of it. So why the corporations, they now that was a mental health, as you say, that is used to be just limited to the some kind of sections of society, but it is now pervading all over the across all the boards and across all the economic backgrounds. So how do you address, how do you wanted to you created a neuro cafe? Tell me about the starting point of the neuro cafe, and how did you get into this, the idea of neuro cafe, and then what do you think, what is going to address in the, particularly you're in the neighborhood, very corporate neighborhood in Buckhead, what is going to address in that what are the things that the neuro cafe has, or what kind of things, what do you, what once a person comes there, what they experience there, and then give me a little bit of
Okay.
setup, and the what are the things there, and what do you do there?
Okay. So the first question is, why did we incorporate Neuro Cafe, and did we feel it would be beneficial to our youth development attempt? One, we wanted to, as in we mentioned, that there is a mental health crisis for all. About it because we know that the services that we provide are very effective, that we should open to the general public and provide a mass supply of relaxation and also the training advantages to the general reason we opened. Another reason, a main reason we opened, was to allow understand what it is that we want for income communities. So we allow people to come in and experience the neuro meditation service, but then to also to be supportive in what we're doing in our efforts in those communities where those kids are disadvantaged. So the experience when you come, it's a multi-dimensional wellness experience. So essential oils, where you do a process of light guided meditation prior, and if filled with stimulating features that allows the body and the mind to relating, dim lights, lots of confirmations and positive things in the walls and things of that nature, all those good things. And then we take you to analyzing the virtual reality heads. When you go into that experience, that is relaxed, lots of colors, lots of compassionate voice, things of that nature. And those things are working to manipulate those brain waves to produce hormones. And then we're also rewatching the inventory with all the positive affirmations that you are taking in during that experience. You're complete with the immersive portion of the experience. You go into a journaling aspect where it's a mindfulness and self-compassion experience where you're just reflecting back on things to help you build more of that positivity and that in the think to the neurofeedback exercise, which sometimes is not the most favorite, but the most effective, what we believe. And in that experience, it allows the individuals to wear a EEG headband where they're monitoring their brain waves and they're understanding how to regulate back and forth from their alpha to beta entry in the beginning stages of their neuro meditation. They're asked to do a focus, and we train them to understand what that focus experience is, and then a relaxation, and we encourage and train them to do that as well. And then once they're concluded in that exercise, we have an affirmation wall. Say affirmations to themselves, and then they come out into the space and we give them tea smoothies. We have mood enhancing tea-based smoothies where we utilize certain teas that enhance moods and lots of fresh fruit and honey and things of that nature to complete their experience. It's a
You're trying
wraparound.
to, very good, you're trying to do stimulate all the senses and all the
All the
five
senses.
senses.
Yes.
Correct, very good. So let me, let me. This is you're based in Atlanta. I'm going to play a short video of the air reach, and then after that, I I'm going to do a presentation about the John Hopkins woman of the immortal woman of John Hopkins. After that, I come back and ask you what are the programs, actual programs you have, how they can come down and visit your place and your website and all those things. I ask you. So let me play the video a little bit, and then I will go from there. And this is I'm going to
Okay.
play a short video, ladies and gentlemen. Just to be patient with me a little bit, and sometimes just a minute, and I'm going to play that video. I hope that I'm going to. I've been focusing on me. Now I live and feel so free. Taking time to meditate. Now my mind is wide awake. Yeah, masterminded with a reach. Masterminded with.
Most of us have to settle for simply good instead of incredible. But what if we could change that by hacking our mental software and giving ourselves capabilities we weren't born with?
Being in the zone, it's essentially just focused attention and the ability to not be distracted. It's what allows you to really develop perfection in any skill.
Just change the idea in your mind that instead of swinging it like that, it's going to start swinging like this in a different direction.
Oh my
Mentally.
heavens.
What we're trying to do is to give you the ability to control your mind and your mental state.
Feel so free. Taking time to meditate. Now my mind is wide awake. Yeah, mastermind.
I was doing independent research on brain waves and touch tone frequencies and external stimulation. Using virtual reality and augmented reality can definitely create shifts in your wavelength.
Lately I've been searching for my diamond. Audio Jungle.
Let's see what you got. The experience you're about to have is designed to take you away. You'll be feeling better in no time.
I think it's going to be a good tool for kids.
Reharmonize that child into their natural state. And the more often that they do that, the more it will come naturally. So I'm very excited about your product.
I am never passing time when we masterminded with a reach.
I can't hear you, Mana. Can't hear you.
Thank you.
Ramona, we can't
This
hear
is
you.
yeah. Now I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the
Okay.
Immortal Woman of John Hopkins. Sorry about that. This is a big problem back and forth of the mic, moving mic. Still we have a technology. We have to go a long way. When the Silicon Valley says we are all going to take over the world, we have a struggle with the videos. So we have to go a long way. So anyway, this is Immortal Woman of John Hopkins. I'm going to talk about it. That's a mysterious woman. That's not a mysterious at all for a lot of people. It is a Henrietta Lacks. Her name is Henrietta Lacks. She's a very popular with Gila lines, they call. I will explain to you what those Gila lines are. Yeah, the story of Henrietta Lacks. This is a story of Henrietta Lacks. She was in 1920. She was born in Virginia, and then she moved to Baltimore. She married to a steel worker in Baltimore, and she moved to Baltimore, city of Baltimore. And then she was at the age of 30. She felt uncontrollable bleeding. Vaginal bleeding came out. The vaginal bleeding, she experienced it. She went to, at that time, she went to, that's the only place you can go to is the John Hopkins. John Hopkins is the only place that in 1920, in 1950s, there's the only place that the African Americans can go and see the doctors there, in the hospital wise. Otherwise, they have to go to some other places that allocated for that kind of things. So she went to John Hopkins. Fortunately, very good. So there is a brilliant physician there. A lot of people don't know about him. His name is Dr. Howard Jones. He's a very well celebrated physician. In fact, he was instrumental in starting the first birth through the in vitro fertilization. In vitro fertilization, he test tube babies. Elizabeth Carr is the one first, that woman is 40 years old woman now. She was born through a test tube baby. So that was he bought these techniques to United States from Europe, and then he was the first one instrumental in he didn't do the actual test tube baby, but he was instrumental in advancing that field. He was one of the top notch OBGYN doctors in that area in the country actually. It's also, think about the 1950s with all these religious fervors there. He started a first sex change operation clinic in John Hopkins. It was gender identity clinic, it's called. He started in John Hopkins first sex change operation clinic. He started it. So his wife is actually, he's he's a OBGYN doctor. His wife is an endocrinologist, in fact. So both of them are physicians. So he's a very well celebrated physician. He's a very well known. He wrote several books. He lived, let me tell you how long he lived. He lived 104 years. So record break. He was recently 2015 he died. Think about that. He lived a long time. So cervical cancer he did a landmark study on cervical cancer. The cervical cancer is basically human papilloma virus. Is basically it is in the cervix that you see. That what happens is that the HPV virus it gets into certain times, and then certain ways it gets into, if there is a crack or if there's a sexual intercourse, if there is a lesion there, it gets into the basal cells, which is a very endothelial endothelial uh, endothelial cells, is the bottom cells of the skin. So usually most of the cancer cells contain within that, abnormal cells contain within that system, within the under the skin. But sometimes certain particular HPV virus, that particular cells, that they go and pop to the top. So endothelial and epithelial cells become infected, and then it becomes a cancerous, and it becomes a fast cancerous. Very quickly, it becomes a serious cancer problem. So he did a landmark study on it in 1950s. During that time, very fortunate, and in a way it's fortunate, but that he could not able to so she went to see him. Henrietta Lacks went to see Dr. Howard Jones. So the HPV virus gets into that, and what is the causes of cancer, basically in basal cells. And it's above my pay grade to explain all those clinical side, but I'm doing my best here. So, but the cervical cancer is already, Dr. Howard Jones did excellent landmark studies in this area, and the cervical cancer area, particularly through the venereal diseases and other sexually transmitted diseases. Other areas those also could happen in so many ways. It could happen. This cervical cancer is a big problem at the time, even now. But usually, so what they did was, so she was diagnosed with cervical cancer. Unfortunately, Henrietta Lacks was diagnosed with cervical cancer. So she was put under the radium therapy. While she's going under the radium therapy, they collected, the John Hopkins collected the cells from the cervical side of the cells. They're collecting tissue culture. They're collecting the tissue culture. So in John Hopkins, she went to a lab. This is a lab. It's a tissue culture lab. It is owned by Dr. George Otto Gay. His name is one of the top-notch top-notch guy in the tissue. He's a scientist. He's not a doctor. He's one of the top guys in the tissue culture at the time. John Hopkins is a premier institution in this area, particularly OBGYN area. They were in the top of the world. Um, so so what he did was, he actually he was a very particular about these cell cultures and all those things. He was developing quite a bit. He invented actually roller drum. That's where you develop the cultures. You develop these cells. That you grow in the petri dishes there in the tissue roller drums. He invented the roller drum. And also, very funny way, he was instrumental in time lapse cinematography. He was instrumental in helping that, because the cells, how they grow and everything is. I think that is the reason he was instrumental in John Hopkins. He started it. Time lapse cinematography was started in John Hopkins area. Then actually electron microscope was invented during the time. It was used in, actually, from the first time in John Hopkins, is used in the cell structures in his lab. So he was the cell structures were studied in his lab through electron microscope. That's a very advanced studies. They are way advanced to the rest of the world. So John Hopkins is a really premier institution in that area. But what happened is, they took the HeLa cells, the cells from the Henrietta Lacks. They took the cells and they took a picture. That is a picture of the cells of the HeLa cells, or Henrietta Lacks cells. At the time, it's not a HeLa cells, but Henrietta Lacks cells of the cervix area, that they took it biopsy and then got that cells picture, the first photo of that one, the cells. So what happened is, after that, so human cells usually die within 10 mutations, within days. It is a very short life. Humans outside of the body, it won't live long. But very strange and surprisingly, the Henrietta Lacks cells keep on doubling every 24 hours. That has turned the entire place. That is a very big revelation in this area. People, it is a very surprising result. Why it is doubling every 24 hours? Is doubling as cells. They couldn't understand. Not only is doubling everywhere, it is everywhere you sell other cells which touches, it becomes a Henrietta Lacks cells. They could not understand why it is not only HeLa cells are cancerous cells, as you know, that the Henrietta Lacks cells are cancerous cells. They're infecting other cells, or they're encroaching the other cells also. Its contamination is a big problem. They couldn't understand why it is so pervading in everywhere this HeLa cells are. So they wanted to use the HeLa cells. They call HeLa means here the Henrietta is the first name of air, and the last name LA is the HeLa cells. That's why they call it HeLa cells. It became a very useful that thing. So those HeLa cells are first time that the electron microscope took an actual picture of the HeLa cells. So these are really so you don't have to use the actual humans. You can test on HeLa cells. So she came to rescue. She immediately died. She didn't live that long enough, but she died. But her cells lived on. So that's where the immortality of the cells came in. I will explain to you why they keep on doubling every 24 hours. So So they took that cells and then they can test it now with a human. They don't need to test the humans. They can test on. They can test with the. They don't need to test with the humans. They can test with these cells, yellow cells. So for example, if the drugs are working or not, pharmaceutical drugs are working or not, that's they can test on the cells. And then toxins, for example, people are exposed to toxins. Husband wife killing each other in arsenics. You can find out how the cells react. So this kind of a toxins environment where is a lot of radiation toxins. That all of them are very radiation toxic is the toxins and everything. It can be radiation can be harmful to the cells. You can study that hormones, for example, and viruses how they affect the cells. So you don't have to test from the human beings. Then the living human beings, you test from the healer cells. They came to is a beautiful, is an excellent rescue system. Is a, the our we it is a rescue for it rescued the humanity. Actually, yellow cells rescued the humanity, not testing on the humans. It tested on you can test on the cells itself. So because of the testing, the healer because of healer cells, these are they're doubling everywhere, right? You can easily get it them everywhere. They're standing all over the labs around the world, around the world. So healer cell lines are available around the world. You can buy anywhere. You can take it anywhere. Nobody knows, but the John Hopkins is sending everywhere, and this is scientific advancement. I don't blame them. It did help her. It did help humanity. So they invented a polio vaccine actually tested on the HeLa cells. The polio vaccine came out of the HeLa cells. Even COVID-19, it contributed, the HeLa cells contributed to the COVID-19 vaccine. And then in HPV virus vaccine, virus vaccine, now the cervical cancer vaccine, you can take it now. HPV vaccine is developed through this one. So think about that. So there's several vaccines were developed through HeLa cells, through Henrietta Lacks. This African American woman, her cells keep on doubling every 24 hours. Those cells are subjected to these are the testing mechanisms of the scientific studies they did, and then they came out with these wonderful vaccines. Polio, I used to have a cousin when he had a polio actually when I was a kid. So I tell you that polio saved a lot of. Now we can, Bill Gates Foundation eliminated the entire polio vaccine, polio itself. So because of these vaccines, John Salk, discovered the polio, but they used the HeLa cells. COVID-19 in several studies used in HeLa cells are widely used. So then they also HeLa cells went to Russian space station Mir is called Mir. They used it. They send it to they check it in the space how the biology affects the space radiation. For example, because the protons that I'm a physicist, I'm going to talk a little bit about protons, the high radiation, they can impact the body, and then it can ionize a lot of it can poisonous. It can create a radiation poison. So that actually, if you see on the picture, with a 9 days exposure, these cells got affected, and then the DNA was damaged. See on the right side, in the space radiation is actually if you're sending a mission to Mars or Moon, or if you want to set up a moon or Mars in the long term international space station, or you want to set up a colony in Mars, a human colony, this you need to consider all these things. So we can check they check it through HeLa cells. So in the space, there's a lot of radiation in the space. So that was actually the longer 9 days exposure damaged the HeLa cells quite a bit. It damaged the DNA. So once you get the damaged DNA, can cause cancers. But also zero gravity. What happens is on the right now we are on the earth. Right now where we are at, it is a gravity is high. So the gravity flattens the cells. You don't see them three-dimensional. Only you see two-dimensional. Looks like a two-dimensional thing. We cannot see the three-dimensional in the gravity, the Earth's gravity. So when you take to the zero gravity stage, like International Space Station, you can see the three-dimensional structure of the HeLa cells. That's the only place you can see three-dimensional cell structures. What they found out? They found out is chemotherapy doesn't work. If somebody gets a cancer in the Mars colony, you cannot get the treatment. Is it because these three-dimensional structures are resistant to chemotherapy? That's what they found out. It's a very interesting observation. So there is a lot of these HeLa cells observed. This is helping us how this future space travel. In fact, the woman was born in the 1920s, helping us how to do the space travel to the Mars or space travel to the other planets. In fact, so so these are so that is University of Washington. They came out the study, so they found out why this. What is immortal about it? Why your cells are so special? Not everybody's cells. The guy got the lab in charge of the lab, Otto Gay. That's what he said. That he got upset. He got a cancer himself, and then he was upset. His cell lines were not living. They didn't take his cells. He was upset that how come my cells are not useful. So he was the guy who found hair cells, immortal cells. His cells or itself is not useful. He was very jealous about that. So, but he died with a pancreatic cancer. He's a nice guy. He did a really great contribution. He found the Henrietta cells. That's what he discovered them, and then in 2013, University of Washington. It's a long time. It was a mystery why any lax cells are doubling every 24 hours. What is causing? It is above my pay grade, but I will explain to you a little bit what I know. It is This virus is somehow that virus is mixed up with the any other lax. It is sitting next to the oncogenes, the genes that causes cancer. So it's sitting next to is a place in the above is placed next to the oncogenes in that it's somehow embedded in that next to the oncogenes of the cancer cells of the any other cells, any other lax. So what happens is that keep on this like a gangsters recruiting other gangsters. This is big. This what he's doing is this virus is producing any other lax cells keep on producing forever. So that's what it's doing. If you put in the 24 hours, that is a study done. I'm not 100% expert in this area, but what I'm saying is that there is a virus, the virus that affected the HPV virus that affected the neonatal was sitting there, that genetic material sitting there next to the oncogenes, the genes that affect that becomes eventually potent cancerous cells. It was lodged in the next to that. That is where that combination caused the continuous supply of. It was a long mystery, in fact. So that was discovered in the University of Washington. They found out what is it. Now we have plenty of immortal cells there, but their cells are all over all over the world. There was the teacher Rebecca Skloot, her name is. She was a high school student when she heard about Henrietta Lacks, and then she was fascinated by her story, and then she found out she wanted to write a book. So she in the book it says that very funny story. In the book it says that one actually the way it came out and everybody come to know about Henrietta Lacks was that um, that there was a postdoc, a Chinese postdoc from John Hopkins, was calling the Henrietta Lacks family to find out getting some genetic information from them. What happened was that she can't speak English, and then any other lax family, I don't know where they're from South Carolina, probably they're speaking Geechee language, maybe. They didn't understand. There is a lot of lost communication there in between them. So they couldn't understand each other, and it came out a story. Then eventually they come to know, then they found out somebody through educated person get involved with that one and say that, oh, John Hopkins is using these cells for a long time all over the world. They come to know in 1970. But Rebecca Skloot figured out, she came out this whole entire story. She wrote a book, the best runaway seller in New York Times. 6 years, it was the number one seller, in the Immortal Cells of Henrietta Lacks. So this was Rebecca Skloot. Eventually, it was they did a movie on HBO. a series on the HBO movie. The Oprah Winfrey acted there, not as a Henrietta Lacks, but as her daughter actually. So that that was a movie done in HBO that is still available. But that is Immortal Life of the Henrietta Lacks, and how this the Heal Alliance Immortal Woman started it. So Rebecca Skloot. So in this book, there is a lot of medical ethics were questioned about it, because a lot of African American community was very skeptical. They were surprised that their cells are all over the world. They don't even their family doesn't know. So they didn't get any benefit out of it. There is a lot of people made billions of dollars to the company. So they have not done it. They have not got benefited anything. They did not have even a health insurance. Some of the people there. This is a tragedy of the United States in that sense. So that eventually it took a big center storm about it, because they already got this Tuskegee syphilis experiment was a big notorious thing that is already there. So that's why black community really took very hard on this one. They brought to the center stage this problem. Um, so John Hopkins eventually apologized. This is they created a new buildings. They created a new. I'm going to play that the building that they created new. They're building a new. I think it's already opened up. Henrietta Lacks multidisciplinary building, and uh, and also they Heal Alliance for all over the world right now. You'll be surprised how many things are done with that one. Let me tell you, she's a remarkable woman. Henrietta Lacks. 100,000 PubMed scientific papers are published through Henrietta Lacks cells, HeLa cells. There's a lot of pharmaceutical companies made billions of dollars. They did that. I tell you, I met DuPont family, you know, down the family. So DuPont made in Delaware. There's a DuPont family is very highly um, well. The founders of the DuPont family is from Delaware. They founded DuPont Pharmaceuticals, DuPont Chemicals, and everything there. I met the next generation um, DuPont families. They're a bunch of idiots. They got millions of dollars. They do nothing. They did a. They got caught most of the time. They squandered the money on drugs and everything. Because DuPont family did. The any other family got nothing. After that, they went to the lawsuits. Now they got something. Now I think everybody worked out, and there is everybody. There's still lawsuits are going on. So I cannot do any promotion material here. But I want to tell you, so there is a vaccines are being developed right now, new vaccines, because a new COVID is a new strain is coming up, like Dr. Eric Topol is talking about it. And then cancer is is one of the nagging diseases that we have, humanity is facing through. Space travel is another one. So we need the HeLa cells. They're continuously using. Still, they are very widely used. It. So I think there are other cells, the HeLa cells, other transformations are done. But uh, but she is a remarkable unsung hero of medicine. Henrietta Lacks is unsung hero of medicine. African American woman died with a no name, but I think she inscribed her name in the golden letters in the in the history of medicine. So I'm going to play what John Hopkins is doing. I'm going to give a credit to John Hopkins. They rectified this problem and they came back. I'm going to play a short video of this thing. Okay, so John Hopkins video about her story a little bit quick.
At the center of the Henrietta Lacks story are people asking questions. For people trying to understand the biology of human cells, it's there. For bioethicists, for patients. This is why Johns Hopkins is committed to outreach and education for all the community.
It's a labor of love. We all feel like we're connected.
Something is it I did something. I'm trying to find what's going on. The echo sound is coming up. I hope we can see it. Okay.
Woman who we call the mother of medicine. It really makes you think about how powerful an impact one person unknowingly could make.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for coming to learn more about my great-grandmother and what her legacy has left for all of us here today. So over 60 years ago,
In my capacity as the Director of Outreach for the Institute for Clinical and Translational Research, I organize educational programs related to Henrietta Lacks. And the main focus is to increase awareness of Henrietta Lacks's impact on medicine and society, to gain a better understanding of the science behind HeLa cells, and also to create an open dialogue about the social issues that were occurring around the time in which Henrietta Lacks's cells were cultured.
I would say that Henrietta is probably, if not the most important, certainly one of the most important women in science and medicine. And we all learn and follow Henrietta Lacks' legacy as we contribute to research and medicine.
Henrietta Lacks was a 31-year-old woman admitted to Johns Hopkins in 1951 for the diagnosis and treatment of cervical cancer. Unfortunately, she had a very aggressive cancer, and within a year, she had died. As part of the care she received at Johns Hopkins, the cells from her cervix were brought into a laboratory and cultured and have become the first human living cell line, which has allowed us to learn remarkable things about how human cells function.
It was really, in my opinion, the launch pad, probably the greatest discovery in biomedical research in the last half of the 20th century. It has led to numerous discoveries and development of technologies.
It provided the ability for us to understand how cells grow, how cells divide, whether cells can survive in extreme climates, going into outer space, how radiation damages cells, how we can produce lots of material to make things like vaccines, which is all part of what the HeLa cell has done for science and for the public.
Just the fact that, 65 years later, a sample of our grandmother's cells still exists out in the world today is almost superhuman.
Our responsibility is to honor the legacy of Henrietta, to thank her family, and thank her posthumously each year, which is what we do. We have a Henrietta Lacks Memorial Lecture. I think last year we had 1,000 people attend. Each year we organize the Henrietta Lacks High School Symposium. We've partnered with the Henrietta Lacks Legacy Group, the Turner Station Conservation Teams, and other groups to form a book club that builds a bridge for people who live in this community and Hopkins researchers to get together and really talk about issues. We also have the Microscope Day, in which we open up the laboratory of one of our colleagues, Jim Potter. They learn about the significance of her cells. The Johns Hopkins Urban Health Institute offers a $15,000 partnership grant to community-based organizations that partner with Johns Hopkins researchers to address health challenges that are impacting people who live in Baltimore. We also partner with Dunbar High School to offer the Henrietta Lacks Scholarship for individuals who are interested in pursuing careers in medicine. And that is really, to us, one of the ultimate ways of honoring Henrietta Lacks, is to increase the prevalence of individuals working in medicine who understand the unique challenges of the community.
This scholarship is way more than just academics, is me being a part of a legacy. It shows you that Henrietta Lacks her cells did more than help cure diseases. Her sacrifice, it has given teenagers like me an opportunity to excel in their future.
The students are the next generation. They're the next generation of doctors, researchers, scientists. So to get them exposed to the story of Henrietta Lacks and see the mistakes that were made and how we are moving forward, possibilities are endless.
What was most interesting to me was
what the providers were saying.
Collaboration between the community and academics is what medicine is supposed to be. We're not supposed to be an ivory tower. We are supposed to be working with the people we serve. And by reaching out to the community, we better understand them, their needs, and they understand what it takes for us.
At some point in some time in life, everybody's gonna get sick. Everybody's gonna suffer from some type of disease, some type of cancer, some type of dementia, any type of thing. So we need research to, find cures, find medication, and find some kind of prevention. So I think it's very important to research, and I think, we need to do our part to get involved.
So again, I want to say thank you for helping us honor my great-grandmother Henrietta Lacks and what
Henrietta passed away, but yet she still lives on, and she's making a huge impact on society today.
Check it out. So that is just a minute. I'm trying to. Okay. So this is a Henrietta Lacks, story of Henrietta Lacks. And, it is a remarkable story. A lot of even African Americans may not know. A lot of people don't know about her, So they must know. They must need to celebrate her life. And she made an indelible mark in the history of medicine. So I wanted to bring that to let me bring so I wanted to ask my friend Catedra, just let me bring her Catedra, that what do you think of it? What do you think of the presentation?
I think it was amazing. No, I just discovered today. I think it's a very mental thing, the sacrifice that she made to help educate science and viruses and illnesses that are still, growing rapidly today. So I think that was a really
So you're contributing as a Black woman. You're really that is understandably very emotional issue for a lot of African Americans. What they're going through. AREACH is one of your organization is started reaching that kind of the communities and helping them. So what is your program you're doing right now? Or they give me some background in your the programs that you have in your what is your website? How do they reach you? How can they schedule you? Schedule with your Neuro Cafe place?
Neuro Cafe, the programs we offer are either a 16 session or a 24 session. That will allow the brain to build the habitual behavior to regulate and, provide the services that we are the objective of the program. It is a 8-week 16 session where young people are met times a week, and we actually go into those young people who are disadvantaged and provide the services right there where it's accessible to them. For Neuro Cafe, you can find us at theneurocafe.com, and we are, as you mentioned, located in the heart of at 55 East Paces Ferry Road in Atlanta. And with our youth program, that program is AREACH, and that website is areach.org, areach.org, and tapping into us to continue to grow the impacts in those communities. So we hope to see you guys meditating with us, our purpose of peace to youth, so that they may meditate and reach a higher level of elevation mentally.
Thank you, Catedra. You've been a friend for me a long time. Thank you so much. You know my family. You know my son. He's a neuroscientist. You work with him. Thank you so much. I'm truly honored to have you on this program. I really appreciate your presence here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ramona, for having me
Good
always.
night. Good night.
Good night.
Yeah. Good night.
We are retelling their stories through our patented designs that can be worn on scrubs, t-shirts, printed on conference bags, and endless other promotional materials. Daily Wear for Medicine is the first ever of its kind to create curiosity in medicine through visual art. We at MedBricks are celebrating unsung heroes of the past who made enormous contributions to the field of medicine through our unique campaign called Daily Wear for Medicine. You can wear it, carry it, and give it.